Yeah, so the Nevada Housing Coalition, we are the statewide voice around affordable housing. And what we do is we bring together the sectors, the private sector, the legislators, businesses, developers to talk about and create solutions around the lack of affordable housing throughout the state of Nevada.
Gotcha. And what kind of assistance do you guys provide with people, or are you more the coalition, the bridge builders?
We are the bridge builders, and so we do not provide direct access or direct services to individuals or families. However, what we do is at a higher level is that we're educating, right? We're the collaborators. We're the individuals that we're going to bring together, again, the businesses, the legislators, the developers, so that this way we can find solutions to ultimately bring more housing throughout the state and to be able to have ensure that Nevadans have a safe and equitable place to call home.
And I know before we started recording, you were talking about your success rate in the state legislature and how that helps folks out. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if we really want to dive deep, over the last 10 years, housing has become a huge issue for the state of Nevada, right? And so when you look at this 10 years ago and you look at the bills that was brought forward in the legislature, you only had a handful. What we can say is that since the coalition has been established over the last 7 years, the increase in housing, the importance around it has definitely made an impact in the legislative branch. And so we have gone from having a handful of bills to now having, just this past session, we had over 60 housing bills brought forward, to which we had 40% success rate. What does this all mean? This means is that we're bringing more dollars into the state to create more affordable housing. We're affecting supportive housing. We're affecting tenant rights. We're also affecting folks to be able to have monies to be able to maintain their housing. So having eviction diversion dollars that will help towards helping folks maintain their housing.
Yeah, and what do you think a couple of the biggest wins for you were this past legislative session?
So in this past legislative session, we definitely advocated and worked closely and behind the scenes with the governor on his Housing Attainability Act, which was Assembly Bill 540. This will bring up $133 million towards our community. It's a one-time appropriation. But what this will do ultimately is create single-family homes, starter type homes for individuals and families who are looking to pursue generational wealth and home ownership. And so what you have with that is, we're going to be able to house maybe 5,000 to 7,000 folks, or folks that will hopefully be able to embark on home ownership moving forward.
Yeah, and how important is that to start that building of wealth, generational wealth? Because we were just talking about renting and the cost of renting, and how you have to have multiple people sometimes, multiple incomes, I should say, to just pay for that single bedroom apartment.
Absolutely. So let's take it back. Let's take a little history lesson. 20 years ago, just around the early part of the 2000s, if you lived in Nevada, you could build a starter home, 1,100 square feet. It was roughly about $100,000, maybe $150,000. We no longer have that type of inventory statewide, and so we know that housing right now is at $450,000 on average. And what we're looking to do is lower that cost, right? And so with the governor's bill, this will be able to create more condos, townhomes, duplexes, and now for those individuals who are making, the average income of around $60,000 to $70,000 a year, and if they have an interest of creating generational wealth, they'll now have the opportunity to now be able to get approved, have down payment assistance, and even help with interest rate buydowns through the governor's bill.
And when we were doing these recent stories, we've been doing them, all these RVs, these mobile homes, these tiny homes. And one of the things that we see online is that there's people that are interested in that type of thing, and there's other people who say, why can't I have the home that you were just talking about, that startup home?
Yeah, so when you take a look at it, when you look at our current workforce, and you look at the cost of housing and you look at the cost of rents, in Southern Nevada, we're roughly at about $1,650. Northern Nevada, we're roughly at about $1,800 for a one-bedroom apartment. People look at that and say, you know what? I can't even save for a home. And so the thought of even pursuing home ownership has been lost, right? So now with this bill and with this, with the creation of these new starter type homes being built statewide, they can now readjust their thinking. They can now say, hey, maybe I can start saving for a home. Maybe this is now an opportunity. And so, again, the goal is to be able to provide an injection of homeowners throughout the state of Nevada, and we're very proud that this bill was able to move forward.
And when we think about companies that I imagine that you guys work with at times and trying to build those connections, how important is it for them to have the ability to have their workers housed?
It's huge, right? We talk about, your essential workers, right? Your construction workers, your nurses, your police and fire, your teachers, right? How does it feel when you really take a look back and you take a step back? If you have a teacher who's going to school every day trying to teach 30 to 40 kids per day, but yet they don't have a roof over their head, right? Or they're sleeping on somebody's couch, or they have to stay in a shelter just to be able to save some money, to save up for a security deposit, or to be able to, help out with their own children. Or how about the young child, right, who is going to school, they're in elementary or junior high, but yet their family is struggling, their mother or their father is struggling. They have to sleep in a Motel 6 or a Siegel Suites. They're not getting the proper nutrition. They're going to go to school and they're not going to be effective. And this is where it leads to, it's even bigger than housing. It's an economic issue, right? And so this affects our small businesses. This affects all of our industries throughout the state. And so that's why we need more housing to be able to, create, again, economic stability for all Nevadans.
How can people who watch this are interested in helping or volunteering or doing whatever they can in any way, how can they get involved with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they would like to learn more, be able to get more data, more research around the housing issues throughout the state, you can go to our website, nvhousingcoalition.org. We also have a conference, our statewide annual Affordable Housing Conference is coming up in October 15th and 16th. It's going to be held at the Circa Hotel and Casino. We're excited about that. This is where we don't just talk about the fluff around housing, we actually talk about real issues, and we try to find real solutions. And so again, you can go to our website, nvhousingcoalition.org, to find out more information and to get in contact with our team.
I know the real issues thing is it's one of the most important parts, because there's so many people who see, okay, you guys are the ones that are talking to those higher end people, whether it's the companies or the governor, but in reality too, you're having these conversations based on the real experiences of people.
Absolutely, we're out in the streets, we're talking to the folks, we're getting an idea of what the issues are. And what I stated earlier, a mother who is a teacher, who is trying to start their career, or maybe they're already 10 years in, they're not making the income, right? The wages have not kept up with the housing costs. And so therefore they're struggling. You could be one, car tire or transmission, or, you could a health scare away from being unemployed. And so with these issues at hand, the coalition is here to help these individuals and families move forward.
And then I know that this past legislative cycle is done with, but I know that there's always bills in draft and always things that you guys are looking forward with. How can people support that type of legislation if they're interested? They say, I think that we need something like Assembly Bill 540 or whatever that iteration may be in the future. How can they help, or how can they get involved and follow you guys?
Absolutely. So the Nevada Housing Coalition is a coalition. We have over 350 members representing 200 organizations. You can become a member. We have yearly costs is very minimal. Again, go to our website, nvhousingcoalition.org, if you would like to get more involved and be able to help with the conversation around policy about affordable housing. We have, over the last 15 years, housing costs have gone up over 200%. So again, if you take the numbers, we was looking at 250, 280,000 type homes 15 years ago, right before the recession hit. Afterwards, homes have steady climbed through that time. Again, the economic wages have only increased roughly about 36 to 40%, which is fine when you talk to any economist. But again, when you talk about the housing costs, where we're at, it's not keeping up. And so therefore, people are being priced out, and folks are not able to maintain their homes.
And then just one last thing to what Ken said too. I mean, how misleading is it for folks to just pay attention to the stock market and just pay attention to their portfolio, but aren't necessarily following the markets that you're following, the renting and housing markets?
Yeah. So again, we have to look at, and it's a convoluted conversation to have, right? So number one, we have to look at corporate investors. That is an issue. They have come into the market. They have helped with the spike in housing costs, rental and home ownership. So we have to limit their purchasing power throughout the state. We also have to look at other opportunities or other ways for folks to be able to increase their wages.